Hello everyone, Larry Satchwell here. Let me introduce you to Mildred and Goldie and tell you about their story. They've been living outside, roaming our property for over a year now. And they're very happy and content. And they were once part of this flock. We buy new chicks every 2 years. And once they start laying eggs, we integrate them with the old chickens. Well, one year it was late and I had a hard time finding other chickens, so the only chickens available were these cinnamon queens, the red ones you see here. And they were doing fine until one day they started picking on the older chickens. At first it was just Mildred, so we let her out. And then once she was gone, they started picking on Goldie, so we let her out. And then we decided to sell the rest of the flock. We only buy about 6 to 8 chickens every 2 years. And this is our new arrivals. They have started laying eggs. We tried to integrate them with the cinnamon queens, and the same thing happened. They spent 2 days hovering in a corner, terrified, and I felt really guilty about it. So we decided to put them in the other half of the coop. So Mildred and Goldie have been wandering around for over a year now. In the snow, it doesn't matter. And they've been great at keeping the winter weeds out of the garden and getting all the bugs out. We no longer have bugs in our yard. And they've been very happy. But I'm really surprised that they've been able to survive even the second snowstorm and the predators. But they're more than happy to help me keep the bugs out of all of our yard. They spend a lot of time at the bird feeders, picking up what the birds have scratched out of the feeders, and enjoying themselves, having freedom to go anywhere they wish. But part of that freedom includes going through my flower garden. And here, Goldie is pulling all of the soil away from my perennial flowers, while Mildred over here is looking for bugs. And apparently she found one. As a consequence, I have to keep my garden beds covered with nets, and I simply don't have enough nets to cover them. And now it's spring, time to plant the new garden. And I simply don't have enough nets nor the desire to cover up the entire garden, so I need to find a new home for them. I mentioned on my garden update the other day that I need to confine Goldie and Mildred. I really hate to. They've been such great friends out here. They greet you every morning, but it's time for the garden. And I'll let them out as soon as I can, but right now I need to make this a more secure place. This is a goat pen, goat stall. We feed the goats in here morning and night. Got the cattle panels up here, and it's fine, but the chickens can go right through it. So I'm going to try to string this chicken wire around here. I know I have more than enough. Karen's going to be down here to help me, but the problem is she doesn't like to be filmed. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I've got some baling twine here that I'm going to wrap right here. And this is how I would do it if I didn't have Karen's help. I'm going to make a loose loop here so I can string this out a little bit. Man, it is really windy out here today, and this is really unwielding here. There we go. Well, with Karen's help, that made quick work of it. I only used 1/2-inch staples. I anticipate taking this chicken wire down. We have Gigi, who has 2 horns, and she is likely to get this stuck in here. Goats will do it. So this is where they've been roosting. Mildred and Goldie have been roosting at night. They can't really fly up there. They flap their wings and crawl up this fence. And this bucket recently fell down in the last windstorm, but it's really hard to walk down there, and that's a much greater reach than it looks like. So we're going to try to grab them sometime while they're out. And then I have to get some water and food down here. But that's the plan. We'll see how it works. I need to pause the video right here and let you know how these chickens miraculously got in here. I feed Gigi right here because these two goats bully her. And normally, prior to all of this rearranging, we had this bar up here. So the goats could come and go, but the horses couldn't get in here. This is a very tight space for the horses, and occasionally they would go in there. So I put this bar across here. So this bar stays open 90% of the time. I only closed it when I was feeding them. I would put Darcy and Duke in here. They would eat at opposite corners, and then Gigi eats out here, and I would go feed the horses and do those chores, and then I would open this gate back up. So that's an explanation of how these chickens kept getting in here and how I'm keeping these folks out. It'll make sense in a minute. A couple of days ago, I was sure I had Goldie confined in here, and Karen comes out here every night at 10 o'clock to check on the animals and everything, and she came back in and said, "Didn't you tell me you had Goldie in the goat pen?" And she wasn't there. So evidently she climbed up the chicken wire, and she's a strong gal. I didn't realize she was that strong yet. So I've got this netting I bought from there was a driving range up the road a couple of miles, and it went out of business. And I was teaching at the time, and I thought, yeah, I can use that. So I bought a whole bunch of it, and I made batting cages for the kids in my elementary school, and used it a lot for that. But it's really stretchy, and it's very durable. It's outside stuff. It's going to be a little lower than I wanted it to be, but I think this piece is going to be enough. I've got to cover up this side, and it's going to have a hole in it, but I don't think she can crawl up the gate. Anyway, that's the plan. I tried as hard as I could, but I just couldn't get it to stretch, so I had to weave this last part to make it work. But now it works. So I'm coming down to do evening chores, and Mildred is in the middle of the new pen. Huh. Yes, I'm here. It's back to the drawing board. Mildred was in there when I did chores this morning, and when I got back from the dentist, not so much. I guess she got out right there. Fortunately, I have some more knitting. So let's give it another go. All right, Mildred. She's right over there. Give it your best shot. I got to catch you again. Well, I got really lucky. I came down here to measure this opening, and there they are. They've put themselves in their new pen. So I'm going to go make a frame for this. Well, for now, I don't just see any way for them to get out, or for a hawk or a predator to get in. And they look okay, they look happy, but they've been free for so long. And I'll release them as soon as the garden is up and going. Well, I'm down here, a little update. They keep looking towards the garden, and I give them scratch in here, but they just seem sad. So as soon as I get the garden planted and the plants are up and they can't do any damage scratching new seedlings, I'll let them back out. But I am amazed that these chickens have lived out here a year now. Uh, that is unprecedented because I know we have predators in our area. Sorry, girls.